You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, as always, Chase Senior. Hit me up on Twitter, at Chase_Senior. Slide in my DMs. Feel free to hit me up so we can talk some Niners, especially if I don't answer your questions during this live mailbag. Let's kick off this mailbag with this question coming in from Dave in the Desert. What's the downside of letting them split the snaps? I think it'd be weird. I mean, Kyle Shanahan has always said that Trey Lance is going to be involved and get some snaps with this first-team offense once the regular season comes if he's not named the starter. The thing is, what Kyle Shanahan's plan is in regards to that is basically use Trey Lance in almost like a more elusive, more explosive Taysom Hill package where you bring in Trey Lance maybe for a series, maybe for a couple of plays to pose a different threat to the opposing defense of being able to run the football as well as throwing the football. I think, though, if you give Lance 2 series and you give Jimmy G 2 series, it doesn't really allow that quarterback to get into a rhythm within the game. That's the problem that you run into there. Go for broke. Appreciate this question. The tipped and intercepted pass from Trey Lance on Sunday wasn't Deebo Samuel's fault. The intercepted pass was to Mohamed Sanu, not Deebo, as you had mentioned in previous videos. Yeah, so, I mean, there were multiple tip passes, though. That's what I meant to say with that. Throughout the preseason, throughout training camp, you've seen tip passes, you've seen drop passes from Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Mohamed Sanu. Richie James has dropped the ball a lot, both in games as well as practices as well. So that's one of my concerns, along with the offensive line for this 49ers team as we get closer and closer to the regular season. Don't want to make too much of it because it's the preseason. But if drops go into the regular season, that is a serious problem for the San Francisco 49ers and that receiving core because, look, Jimmy Garoppolo needs all the help that he can get. Trey Lance, if he's your starter, you need to help out the rookie as well. So you can't have these veterans like George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Mohamed Sanu, Richie James, if he makes the roster, drop some of these passes. This is the National Football League, too. I thought the interception that Jimmy G threw should have been caught. I thought the incompletion that Trey Lance threw on that, I believe that third down, should have been caught as well. 49ers Raiders coming at you on Sunday night. We're going to be doing a watch party right here on the channel, so make sure you join us. We'll be going live around 4 o'clock Eastern just before kickoff. So this is what I want you to do right now. Mitchell Renz does a great job hosting the Las Vegas Raiders Report right here at Chat Sports. And he did something earlier in the week where he had a bunch of Raider fans slide in my DMs on Instagram, comment on my posts on Instagram saying, Raider Nation for life, the Niners suck. So we got to return the favor. Go to Mitch's Instagram at MitchellRenz365, that handle at the bottom of your screen right now, and just comment Niner Gang. On his posts, in his DMs, let him know that the Niners are running the Bay. Z the Dark One, I'm going to speak it into existence. Jimmy G for MVP. Z the Dark One's been saying this a lot over the last couple of weeks. I just don't see how that's going to be a reality. I don't think that Jimmy G has done anything to really separate himself from Trey Lance in preseason or in training camp. And I know it's only the preseason, but in the 2 drives that he has played, he's really just looked okay. So Jimmy G is going to have to go off to win MVP because he's going up against some of the best playmakers across the entire NFL, and that's a pretty incredible award to win. Gopher with another question. Cuts aren't always about talent or lack thereof. They are about factors that go into the decision. It's sometimes having to do with money and cap space. Yeah, for sure. But when you're making roster cutdowns from 90 to 85, 85 to 80, it's really, not a huge deal because those players weren't expected to make the 53-man roster, and you went into training camp at the start of it knowing that those guys weren't going to be true players with trying to crack the 53. So, yes, Gopher, I'll say you're right once you make those decisions to get down to 53. But getting down to 85 and 80, you don't really factor in cap space or money because you're not paying those guys a lot of money to begin with. Another question coming in from P. Randall. I know that name. I know a man who went by that name. With Travis Etienne getting hurt, could the 49ers trade Raheem Mostert or another back to the Jacksonville Jaguars? 49ers in the backfield are loaded. And it's not like they have the prototypical dominant bell cow. I just think they're so well-rounded and they're so deep at that position. I think all of these guys can play and really succeed. Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Trey Sermon, Wayne Gallman, JaMychal Hasty, and who else am I missing? Elijah Mitchell, who's injured right now. I mean, I just mentioned 5 guys who I realistically think, if healthy, Jeff Wilson not, Elijah Mitchell not, could help you right away in 2021. So I said before training camp that if injuries happen elsewhere with other teams at the running back position, or if one guy on the Niners, like a Trey Sermon, lights the world on fire during training camp, that could open up an avenue where you tried to trade away a guy like Raheem Mostert, who's going into the final year of his contract and he's in his late 20s, or trade away a guy like Wayne Gallman, maybe even JaMychal Hasty, who I think has run really, really hard with a lot of physicality throughout the preseason. So if a deal like that possibly surfaces and then Jaguars reach out to the Niners and they're like, hey, I mean, Raheem Mostert, JaMychal Hasty, we just lost Travis Etienne, I would entertain that offer if what I'm getting back is very, very valuable. Do you think the Niners should trade one of their running backs as we move off of that question? Good job by producer extraordinaire Jack Lauderay for cooking up that question right quick. Type T for trade, type P for pass. Get those votes in the comment section right now. The 49ers Report is made possible today thanks to our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Football season is here, which means it's the best time of the year to start betting on games. I love betting on football. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm like, okay, I got to monitor the lines. Are the 49ers now 3.5-point favorites, or did the line bump up to 4? I need good value. You can check out all of these lines at chatsports.com/49bet. And while you're there, if you enter the promo code Niners125, you get a 125% deposit bonus. So basically, if you put $100 in your account, you get $225 back, but you have to use that link at the bottom of your screen as well as that promo code. Maybe you want to bet on some preseason football and be a degenerate like your boy here. Niners going into this game against the Raiders as 3.5-point favorites. The over-under set at 35.5. Those over-unders in the preseason are a joke because the odds makers know that backups are playing late and the scoreboard isn't going to be lit on fire. Get your bets in. Chatsports.com/49bet. Enter the promo code Niners125. There isn't a better deal out there from any sportsbook in the world. Move ahead in this mailbag with this question from Odd Future. Who do you think would be the Niners' number 1 wideout? I think Brandon Ayuk is a little bit better than Deebo Samuel. I think he's more refined as a route runner. I think he is a more natural wide receiver. Both of them are so dynamic, picking up yards after the catch. And in Kyle Shanahan's offense, where he often designs plays and calls plays where guys are streaking wide open, to have the ball in the hands of those dynamic players and watch them do their work is straight up incredible. But I think Ayuk is the better natural wide receiver than Samuel. Alpha Doctor 20, what do you think is the 49ers' weakest position? Offensive line depth, the secondary depth, also a little bit of a concern. QB3 is a little bit of a problem, but you have 2 good ones in Jimmy G and Trey Lance, so I'm not too concerned there. I didn't think that I'd be saying that Nate Sudfeld was worse than Josh Rosen, but he looked worse than Josh Rosen on Sunday night. So some positions of concern as we get closer to the season opener. Rock Peebles with this question. The reason we had so many drops is they aren't used to a ball like Lance can throw. Jimmy throws softballs. Lance is a big boy ball. I'm cracking up at that question. That's awesome stuff. I've talked about that here on the channel. There is an adjustment going from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance. I mean, Trey Lance can do things with the football with his arm talent that Jimmy G can't. It's like basically taking the mound in the Little League World Series, where the mound is like 45 feet away from mound to home plate, compared to Major League Baseball, where it's 60 feet 6 inches. You just don't have as much time to react, and the velocity is so much different. So yes, there is an adjustment period that has to be made with these receivers and tight ends who aren't used to Trey Lance throwing them a rocket missile. Also, Trey Lance can do a better job of picking his spots as to when he puts velocity behind the ball. He can work on his touch just a bit. I've been really impressed with Trey Lance. Who have you been most impressed with on the Niners during the preseason? Get your names in down below in the comment section and let me know who you've been most impressed by. Maybe it's a guy like JaMychal Hasty, Jawan Jennings, December Webster. We have not, Jack. Get those names in down below. Noah James, what role do you think Trey Sermon will have in the offense? He did a couple of decent things in the preseason opener against the Chiefs, did not play in the second game against the Chargers. I really wanted to see him play because I wanted to see him get extended carries and more carries. I think he's going to be RB2, maybe even RB1 in some instances. You have to factor this in, though. Kyle Shanahan really never goes with a starting running back, but Trey Sermon, he's going to get a lot of action this year as a rookie. Doc D with an offensive line and free agency heavy question. Mitchell Schwartz, David DeCastro, Russell Okung, or Richard Sherman. Could the 49ers sign any of those guys? I wouldn't hate a Schwartz, although the injuries concern me. The age and breaking down of DeCastro concerns me as well. I'm out on Russell Okung, even though Mike McGlinchey, man, through the preseason so far hasn't been that great. Richard Sherman as a depth piece in the secondary, I wouldn't hate it. So I would take chances possibly on Schwartz for offensive line depth because you don't have much right now. David DeCastro, same thing there. Russell Okung, probably not. Richard Sherman, why not bring him back? I mean, he knows some of the elements of this defense, even though it's D'Amico Ryan's defensive unit. And if guys go down in training camp, in preseason, leading up to the regular season opener, that's when I think you could see John Lynch explore some of those options. Name a free agent you want the 49ers to sign. Is it Mitchell Schwartz? Is it David DeCastro? Maybe even Richard Sherman? Another player out there on the open market. Man, some intriguing names, but none that really move the needle all that much. You could tell me that I'm wrong and say, Chase, there are free agents out there that move the needle. Let me know. Last question in this mailbag from Phil Kill. Who has the best wide receiving core in the NFC West? I think the Cardinals are up there. I think the Niners have a very diverse blend at the wide receiver spot. So I think they might have the best receiving core. I mean, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, it's a very good receiving unit as well. This was why I say, I mean, the NFC West, I think, is going to come down to the 18th week of the season. In this rigorous 17-game schedule, I think it's going to be a gauntlet because all of these teams very good in that division.